there, YouTube. It's 6:30 on the dot. I actually started this stream at 6:29, but when I realized, looking at the time, seeing that it was 6:29, I was just waiting and waiting for it to be 6:30 on the dot, which it now is. Wow. So this stream that I'm doing right now is, I'm intending for it to be a quick little follow-up to my carrot video that I just did just now, or earlier, just pretty much moments before this one. I'd like to say most of that video was about carrots, but actually part of that video was about carrots. Mostly the parts towards the start of that video were about carrots. The majority, however, of the rest of that video, and pretty much just the majority of that video overall, was me pretty much calling out and trying to address whatever pussy-ass coward decided to break into my car and destroy my favorite hairbrush. Well, I'm in the apartment that I stay at now. I just lugged all my carrots and the rest of my groceries up the stairs like a jaguar. And you know what I was about to say? Because in parts of that video, and towards the end of that video that I was just doing earlier, yeah, I was pretty much just trying to call whoever did that, just call them out and kind of dare them to face me, you know, like head on. I think at one point towards the end of that video, I was saying, like, you know what, why don't you just come face me man to man? I think I worded that wrong, because even if the person, I'm assuming whoever did that and whoever's been doing these things to me, I'm assuming that they're probably the male gender, but I certainly wouldn't consider them to be all that much of a man. I would consider them to be a cowardly ass little pussy. And on that note, I guess I worded that wrong. So rather than face me man to man, why don't you come and try to face me? Dare to face me. Mind you. Little bitch to man. Me being the man here in the situation. Or pretty much having to be. Trying to be. You know, as strong and as brave as I can manage to try to be, while you continue to be a pussy-ass little bitch. This is it right here. This is the apartment that I stay at. This right here is the side room. You know, you could easily just wait right in here for me to get back from the club some night and just do whatever it is you want to do, buddy. You know me, you know my schedule. I say it over and over again in most of my videos. I'm sure you would know what it is regardless, even if I didn't say it in my videos. So, yeah. Oh, and you know what else? I was actually also going to say, I was actually going to go as far as to dare them to do, because yes, they cut the little spiky things, most of the spiky things off of the hairbrush, my favorite hairbrush, my formerly favorite hairbrush that I had in my car. I was gonna dare them to do it to this hairbrush too, but it looks like they apparently possibly already have. Yep, They beat me to that. They really do know me. Or you, whoever's watching. I'm sure they're maybe watching. I don't know, but that is really scary because not only do they know me that well to where they must have realized that I was going to do a thing like that. Like this. Like, come on here and be like, I dare you to do it to this hairbrush too. They already fucking did. Can you guys see that? This one's not as obvious. With the hairbrush in my car, they cut most of the things off. With this one, there's not that many that are cut, but there's definitely some. Like, it's harder to see with this one on camera, but so like here and here. You see that? Here. Here. They're you can see if you really look closely, like especially in person, you can see that they've been cut, like with scissors probably, or cut with something. I don't know if this would qualify as like stripper harassment or just me harassment. Like, yeah, I don't really know why, but that's really interesting. That's fascinating. With this one, with the one in my car, I feel like that one must have been recent. I'm assuming this one's probably very recent too, but I feel like maybe with this one, I'm just noticing it now. Or like with this one, maybe this had happened before, like a while back, and I just didn't notice until now. Whereas the one in my car, I'm pretty sure would have had to have been just in the past couple days that it happened. But again, I'm assuming they probably go along together. Like, I'm pretty sure I would have noticed. I don't know. This one's less noticeable. You know what I mean? So, but it's still there. It's still a thing. That's weird. So yeah, clearly someone's been. I've already known this for a while. This has already been very apparent to me for many years at this point, I would say. But yeah, somebody not only breaks into my car, they also break into the apartment here that I stay at, which is really scary. And my locker's at the club, I've mentioned. Guys, if you have daughters out there, raise them well as best you can. Don't let them end up like me. Try to prevent that as best you can. This is not a nice way to exist in the world, okay? I probably shouldn't have to say that. I'm sure you can probably already gather that. But yeah, this is concerning. But again, apparently whoever's doing this, especially when they come into the apartment, they don't have the balls to just stay here and wait for me to get back and face me head on. Which maybe they just should, like, man up already. Like, otherwise you're just kind of a joke, right? Like, I already know that I'm a joke, but right now I'm thinking that you're a joke. So why don't you come set me straight, face to face? Man to bitch. Me being the man and you being the bitch. Anyway, that's actually not the main reason I'm logging back on right now. I actually wanted to log back on because I guess there's still a few things that I kind of wanted to mention that I didn't in my video earlier from today that apparently did post properly, or so far it looks like it did. Which, yeah, that video was almost 2 hours long, but apparently even with that being the case, I can still think of some things that I didn't say yet. So I've mentioned before, this isn't one of those things I was going to mention, but it's coming to mind now looking at myself on camera. I've mentioned recently how I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed scoliosis. So with scoliosis, your whole body's out of alignment. And like my left hip, which is this one, is higher than my right hip. And also the left side of my rib cage pokes out more than this side, than my right side. You can kind of see that right here, actually. Or I can. I don't know if you guys can, but like, see how this side is bigger than this side? I'm pretty sure that's like my rib cage. It's like part ab or part rib cage. I'm not sure. It's like both maybe. But it sticks out more on this side than this side, right? Like, can you guys see that too? That's my scoliosis, which apparently that's actually considered a disability from what I've read. And if I had only known that before, then maybe I could have just gone on that rather than decided to become a stripper and put myself through all this. I had no idea going into the adult industry that this is gonna come with it. Like, I was gonna have to be dealing with stuff like this. And again, I don't know if that's why I'm dealing with stuff like this or why this is happening to me, but I kind of can't help but assume it probably they might likely be related, kind of thing, you know? Anyway. Something that this next part isn't in my notes, but when I was talking about part of this earlier, it did come into my mind and I wanted to mention this, but I forgot. And yeah, this part wasn't written down, but actually no, so none of this part was written down because even the parts that I did mention in my earlier video wouldn't have been written down because I didn't know that the hairbrush in my car was like ruined, basically. I didn't know that the spokes on it were cut until just today, until I had already started my earlier video from earlier today. I found that out live while I was doing the video. So I guess luckily I don't really have a whole lot of feelings left in me to freak out about it all that much. Like, I'm still freaked out, but I don't know. I don't really feel that emotional about it right now. Everything just seems kind of pointless and stupid to me at this point, you know? It kind of has for a while. But here, I just noticed this. Why don't I just dare you now to do it to this one? If you're that big and bad, here's your next big important thing to do in life. Here's something else to give you meaning and motivation, to get up out of bed yourself, I guess. Assuming that you sleep in a bed. Probably mine, for all I know. You're clearly in this apartment from time to time. Possibly almost all the time. Again, how would I know? How would I know? My mind just races and races to all of these wonderful places and possibilities. Endless possibilities, practically. Here, come do it to this one. I double dog dare you. Anyway, so yeah, none of this next part was in my notes, but what I had started to talk about in my video earlier, because of the hairbrush in my car being ruined and like the spokes on it cut, I was starting to talk about how it reminded me a bit of the tray table that I put my laptop on here in this apartment. You know what's funny? I could actually take my phone and go show you guys that very tray table right now if I were so inclined, but that would be on the fly, unplanned, and I have no idea what might inadvertently end up showing up in the background with that. possibly some somewhat inappropriate things that might be, yeah, like in the background, or I can think of a few inappropriate things that would be on the floor near that area that might accidentally end up on camera. So I don't know. I don't really feel like doing all that anyways. My phone is actually charging right now. Yeah, whatever. It's not that interesting. It's interesting to me, probably not to anybody else. I'm guessing, but the tray table that I put my laptop on, I was talking in my earlier video about how this part actually happened, I'm pretty sure years ago at this point. This part was a while ago, but I noticed that it used to have these little like plastic textured grippy pieces attached to the bottom of the the two legs, like the leg on either side of that tray table. There were four little grippy pieces attached to the bottom of the legs, and I noticed those had been like pried off a couple years ago. And that was, I think, probably one of the main things that led into me deciding to shut off my fridge and unplug it and use it as almost like a safe to put a lot of my stuff in, including my laptop. I don't really remember, honestly, if I had already been locking my fridge up before that, but I'm pretty sure shortly after I noticed that, because yeah, my laptop would be on that tray table, that I noticed the tray table had been tampered with and the little grippy pieces on the bottom were like ripped off, and it's not like they could have just fallen off. They were like screwed into the bottom pretty much. They were like secured on there pretty good. So for them to come off, somebody pretty much would have had to have like pried them off like very intently, you know what I mean? Like with force. So, yeah. So I already talked about that in my earlier video, but what came to mind as like kind of a funny little detail, realistically not all that funny, but I guess depending on how much of a sense of humor I can try to have about this. Yeah, I'm guessing that must have probably been a big part of why I decided to eventually, probably shortly after that, lock my laptop up in the fridge. Because me trying to picture this happening in my mind, it's very difficult for me to imagine, like, back then, that had happened before I had started putting my laptop or locking my laptop up in the fridge. Again, I'm pretty sure that probably was a big part of why I ended up doing that. So back then, before I started doing that, my laptop would just be left out on that tray table when I would leave the apartment and go out, go to work or just go out to do whatever it was that I would be doing, aka not here in the apartment. It's very difficult for me to try to imagine them. Like, basically, for them to get to that tray table, to yank off the pieces on the bottom like that, they would have had to have moved my laptop. And it's very difficult for me to try to imagine them, like, gently picking it up and gently placing it on the bed where the tray table was. Like, because again, to yank those grippy pieces on the bottom of the tray table legs, to get those off, they would have had to have done so very forcefully, not gently, basically, not gentle and slow like brushing my wigs. So I'm trying to picture, like, kind of, I guess, the irony almost, you could say, maybe, or how weird it would be to try to picture them, like, being like they would have had to have turned the tray table upside down, yank off the little things underneath, because these grippy things were on the legs of the table, so the bottom of it, they would have had to turn it upside down. So it's like, did they just like gently pick up my laptop and gently place it off to the side before flipping that table upside down and yanking those, like, prying those leg things off, those grippy things? What I can't help but to imagine was more likely probably the case is, if they were gonna be so abrasive and just disrespectful and rude and weird about that with that whole situation, they most likely probably would have just thrown the laptop on the floor before flipping the table upside down and yanking those little things off the bottom of the legs of it. Which, I mean, again, that was years ago, I'm pretty sure at this point. My laptop has not functioned very well for quite a while, but I kind of feel like with the laptop being all messed up, that seems like more of a thing of it being hacked into, like just internally, if that makes sense. It's kind of surprising to me that my laptop would still actually somehow function if they had just thrown it on the floor, like roughly like that, or this is very, very weird for me to try to picture and imagine in my mind. Obviously, like, come on. But it's actually, yeah, it's a little bit silly, a little bit funny to imagine how roughly they would have had to just, and kind of recklessly, carelessly, they would have had to have flipped the tray table upside down to get to the bottom of the legs to just kind of yank and force and wedge those pieces off. And yet, no, don't worry. Before they did that, they gently picked up the laptop and they gently placed it off to the side, nice and neat and just fine. So don't worry about it. Anyways, yeah, I couldn't help but to want to add that part, like add that additional thought and detail along with that, or try to with this second video that I'm doing with that today. This is my follow-up carrot video kind of thing. My follow-up carrot / car reaction video. I could probably make a lot of other like follow-up videos. I mean, I already make follow-up videos when my first videos get cut off and don't post properly. But even the ones that do post fully and properly the first time, there's almost always stuff that I had forgotten to mention, or stuff that comes to me as like additional thoughts and details later on, that it's like sometimes I even want to go back and like add, like just type that stuff out in the descriptions for the videos, but more often than not I just don't really get around to it. But today, it's still pretty early, I don't know. Today I just figured I would go ahead and try to do it. I've also never filmed. I don't film from this apartment very often. I think I've done it maybe like twice before. But I've never filmed in this particular spot of the apartment, if that makes sense. So yeah, this spot I feel like would be an especially good spot for whichever intruder asshat has been breaking in. This would be a really good spot for them to hide and like wait to attack me, like when I would be coming back here after being out, you know what I mean? And this is the same room that the hairbrush is all, they've clearly already been in here because yeah, like the hairbrush is in here, so that's fun. So then I do have a few other things. Oh, in my notes. Well, one thing that comes to mind, okay, well, I'll save that part for after, but another thing that is in my notes that I didn't say earlier is I've been talking a lot lately about how, well, today we're halfway through the month of May right now. Today's May 15th. A couple weeks ago on May 1st, that was exactly 1 year for me having not smoked weed. And yeah, I've said before, the main reason I stopped smoking weed was the expense, like how expensive it is. But another reason was that, yeah, like I notice a lot of weird things like this happening to me from time to time, or, you know, like definitely on more than just a handful of occasions. Like there's been many multiple instances of just weird, obnoxious bullshit like this happening to me, like where I just really feel very messed with. And I was noticing that smoking weed seemed to increase my feelings of just anxiety and paranoia um with stuff like that. Like, noticing weird stuff I've noticed many times would already obviously be very anxiety inducing. And yeah, with that, just the combination of smoking weed, it would kind of just make me more paranoid than it ever really had in the past. Although it had in the past, I guess, to an extent, but that would just get worse, like as time went on, and worse and weird things seemed to just happen. So, oh, but what I had wanted to add as a detail to go along with that, because I've already mentioned that before, probably quite a few times by now, but something that I wanted to additionally add onto that is I suspect that what I imagine might have been a big part of why I used to be so kind of like, I don't know if addicted is maybe like a too strong a word for this, but I was very, very, I think, overly attached to smoking weed, because up until I had taken a break from it, um, like a little over a year ago, up until then, I had been smoking pretty much all day long, every single day, pretty much for like 20 years straight, since I was 16 years old. But thinking more about that now, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I would say that I became so attached to smoking weed as much and as often as I did and had been for so long. Like there's a lot of reasons that would tie into that. I think I probably mentioned many, if not most of those reasons in other videos already. But another thing that came to mind recently about that is the first time I ever smoked weed was with the guy that took my virginity. And he, after I had my first time with him, which was also when I was 16, after that happened, it was April 18th of 2005. I can remember. After that happened, he didn't really seem to want a whole lot to do with me. Like he wasn't like a total like ass about it or anything. Like he wasn't, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't like totally giving me the brush off, but he kind of had that personality to where, yeah, I mean, he was kind of like almost like a loner, just doing his own thing. Well, okay, so I'm pretty sure he had an older brother when he was younger that was shot and killed in a drug deal or something like that. So, and like he lived in a trailer back then, like all throughout high school and like his childhood probably, I'm guessing, but basically he seemed like he had a pretty rough like childhood and adolescence and that kind of thing. So he did have friends, it seemed like, but like with his friends, it seemed like he kind of had like this small group of like a small handful of friends that he would hang out with the most, just from what I noticed. Obviously I don't really know, but like with the people that I would see him hang out with the most, like they kind of just seemed to like to get messed up a lot and like drink and yeah, like get high, smoke weed, and also get pretty messed up in other ways, like weird ways, like I don't know, like cough syrup or like pretty much any way they could. Practically, it seemed like over the counter stuff. Just like they just seem to like to get and be messed up like a lot of the time. So that was just kind of his personality. Like I want to think that he wasn't like purposely just like giving me the brush off to be like, yeah, like an ass about it or anything, but I don't know. He just like had his own thing going on, you know what I mean? Like independent, wanted to just he wasn't looking for like a girlfriend, or at least not from me or anything. Which, I mean, I can understand that, but at that age and just where I was at with things, I think I had a harder time accepting that than I wanted to have. Like, I wanted to be okay with that, but I wasn't really close with my family, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends myself back then, like in high school and stuff. And my family had just moved across multiple state lines uh, right before I started 8th grade. So 8th grade, also shortly before I started high school, like so shortly before that time period, pretty much. So I just felt very like alone, very lost and lonely, and that kind of thing. Kind of just brushed off to the side. And yeah, I mean, like, I would say just with how a lot of things have been for me, my family life, moving a lot as a kid and just adolescence and stuff, um, the few experiences I have had with guys, and especially now, like me being a stripper and being in the adult industry, I've kind of just oftentimes felt just kind of like used and then tossed aside, pretty much. Which is a theme that a lot of guys seem to totally love. Like, I've definitely noticed a lot of pretty sadistic kind of attitude and mentality from guys about that kind of thing. Like, it's kind of like something there a lot of guys are kind of like very proud of, and it's like this whole thing. It's like this whole like subculture with guys, it almost seems like, or not all guys, I guess, but like a lot of the guys that I have met and just observed and seen and like kind of interacted with, I guess, throughout the years, like a lot of them kind of seem to get off on that almost more than anything else when it comes to females. Like, yeah, I don't know, just tossed aside like trash, pretty much. Which I understand, I guess, to a point. That's just maybe how things are this day and age, or for some time now, different groups and circles of people. I don't know, but I got that vibe a lot, or I have gotten that vibe a lot in my years so far, especially ever since, like, yeah, high school, adolescence, and going into adulthood and being in the adult industry now. It's something that I've encountered a lot and experienced kind of a lot of, which is a big part of why I kind of just try to avoid guys altogether now, like as a whole, as much as I can, other than obviously having to deal with them a lot as a stripper. Oh, the irony. But yeah, you know, like I can remember the first time I ever smoked weed was with that guy that had taken my virginity. We smoked before that happened. So we also smoked, I think the first time I ever smoked was also shortly after I had gotten alcohol poisoning, in like a different situation and circumstance. So yeah, there were quite a few things that happened when I was 16. I got alcohol poisoning a couple months, actually just over 1 month. I got pretty serious alcohol poisoning to where I wound up in the hospital with like a tube down my throat and a catheter in. That, the alcohol poisoning, I think my blood alcohol level was like 0.4 or something like that. And yeah, they said that I almost, died that time because 0.4 is like said to be the lethal limit for alcohol, I guess. And when that happened, I was just over 1 month having turned 16. I turned 16 the end of October, and then this happened, or that happened, December 4th, which is also my younger brother's birthday, go figure. So yeah, anyway, I met that guy that took my virginity, well, eventually, shortly after that, I guess. I also met him in December. I remember we had a field trip. We had a field trip where we went to a science museum, and I met him on the bus, I think coming back from that field trip. And that was like 2 weeks after I had gotten the alcohol poisoning and like wound up in the hospital from that. So I was, not in the best place, obviously. We met then, and then shortly after that was my first time ever smoking weed, and we were in his car, parked off to the side of some area, I guess. I don't know. That was fine. I mean, he was, even though he kind of ignored me after I had my first time with him, like my other first time, like actually, even though he kind of ignored me after that, when we did hang out, he was like, okay, like he was pretty nice to me and stuff, like just not like bad or anything, but yeah, anyways, so that was December, and then I'm pretty sure like later on, shortly after that, I think my first time smoking weed was probably in the spring with him, like the following year of 2000. That was when I got the alcohol poisoning. That was December of 2004. And then the following year, so I think the following spring of 2005, I'm pretty sure that's when I smoked weed with him for the first time, or just the first time that I smoked weed ever, which, yeah, was with him. And I'm pretty sure that was the springtime because I can remember, like, we were in his car outside, obviously outside, but, like, I can remember, like, the outside of his car being, like, kind of, like, sunny, nice, like, spring weather. And then, yeah, like, so I think shortly after that, in April is when I had my other first time with him, like, sexually. So I just feel like I never really thought of it before until just recently. But looking back now and thinking about it more now, I feel like maybe that probably could have played a pretty big part in why I got so attached to smoking weed. Because, like, yeah, after we did that or did those things together for the first time, he kind of just went back to like his own way and just seemed to lose interest in me. And we still hung out, like we still hooked up from time to time, but it wasn't like a regular thing. And he didn't really seem to care one way or the other, you know what I mean? Like he was kind of like, it seemed like in his own little world, like mostly just doing his own thing and in his own kind of like weird little headspace, or you know what I mean? Just very independent, very kind of like off to himself for the most part, it seemed like. Whereas for me, because I was so young, and he was my first, and I started to feel these feelings of just like emotional attachment, and I wanted to just like physically and literally be close to him too after that. You know what I mean? So I wanted to hang out like more, and I wanted to talk to him more and see him more, and if I had it my way, I think I probably would have wanted to be in a relationship with him. But yeah, he just didn't seem like he was into that kind of thing, or he didn't want that kind of thing from me. So we just pretty much, for the most part, even though we still hung out and got together from time to time here and there, for the most part, we kind of just went our separate ways after that. I didn't really see him that often like I wanted to, and I think me smoking weed like all those times and years after that, it maybe was like probably this little twinge of nostalgia, or kind of like that companionship and that partnership. Like weed was almost personified for me, and I got that level, that kind of semblance of companionship or partnership in a way that I was never really able to get from an actual person. Oh, but also, yeah, I think I've also probably said this before, or as well after the fact, like after doing the videos that I did where I talked about, like weed and me taking a break from it and stuff. I've been meaning to add this, like type this out in the description for the recent video that I did about that, about my 1 year of not smoking weed. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I've been meaning to, and hopefully I will at some point. But so for now, I'll just say verbally again. I think I've said this verbally since then, but I'll say it just real quick again right now. Like, I'm not against weed at all. Like, I'll always love weed. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just, I feel like I was overly attached to it, over indulging, just for me personally, I know that I was too attached and doing it too much and prioritizing it over other things that I should have been putting ahead of that. Yeah, another thing I had mentioned recently is that I've been thinking about, well, like I've talked a lot lately about how I've pretty much been bullied in some shape or form or another, like ever since I can remember, pretty much. And that has apparently, yeah, it's gone into adulthood. I try to tell myself that it hasn't, but really it really has, because yeah, a lot of weird stuff has happened in this apartment that I stay at, in my car. And then recently, I've noticed this, and then the hairbrush in my car, just like very obvious, like reminders to me that, oh yeah, like people break into my car in the apartment that I stay at and mess with my stuff and like ruin, like damage my things and take my things sometimes. So, and even like here on my YouTube, like my streams mess up a lot. And so I do feel like I'm still being like kind of harassed and bullied even as an adult. And I was talking recently about how, despite that even happening here on my YouTube, I kind of want to think, I guess I try to approach my YouTube and tell myself that my YouTube is kind of like my way of trying to stick up for myself a little bit. Just trying to use my voice as best I can from where I'm at with things, and just the resources that I can come up with right now, like just having access to the internet, at least, I guess. I don't know, or it looking like I do. It appearing that way sometimes, I don't know, but yeah, in a lot of ways I tried to have my YouTube be a way for me to speak my piece, use my voice, stand up for myself in some way, shape, or form. Because I've never really been able to stand up for myself in person when people have bullied me face to face in the past. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Because I was saying how whoever's been doing these weird little things in my car, in the apartment, so far they've been doing it not face to face, behind my back. So I don't even know who it is or who it might be. So in that way, I'm like, well, they're such a coward because they can't even face me, like do it face to face. But, I'm a coward too, because so that's most of the bullying that I experience these days seems to be not face to face. Although occasionally it is face to face. Like I've met some of the dancers at the club that I dance at that have been very rude and at times quite mean to me face to face at the club. Although thankfully that doesn't happen super often. It has been happening with one dancer in particular again lately, but not super bad to where I would necessarily call it bullying, but kind of on the verge of where it could almost go there, possibly. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, mostly these days it seems to be not face to face and behind my back. Like the stuff that happens in the apartment and in my car, like just my stuff going missing or being damaged. Whereas most of the bullying that I would face in the past, like when I was a kid and you know, a lot younger, before I became a stripper and stuff, and before I was in the adult industry, back then, it was mostly face to face, like to my face. And with that kind of stuff, I was never able to stick up for myself, like in person, face to face with somebody else like that. So I guess maybe it is slightly hypocritical of me because, yeah, I've kind of always been a coward too when it comes to that. You know, like, I can't just stick up for myself face to face, one on one with somebody in real time, I guess in real life. So, my way of at least trying to do some version of sticking up for myself now, I guess, is like on the internet with my YouTube, behind closed doors, all by myself, um, in a literal sense, but then also at least trying to be public and out there, I guess, through the internet kind of thing, where people, where things can't escalate to actual physical danger and drama in these moments. Obviously, like me daring somebody, whoever comes into this apartment, to like just stay here and like meet me face to face, to have the guts to do that, that could escalate a little bit to, you know, in that kind of situation. But I really try to avoid physical drama and physical stuff like that for the most part, you know, like, because I don't need any more drama. I don't need any more problems. You know what I mean? I've had enough of, like, obviously that's just life, but I would still try to avoid that kind of thing if possible, I guess. Me just noticing the hairbrush stuff today, I was just pushed to a point where I've been saying that kind of stuff, like, oh, just like have the guts to face me face to face kind of thing, whoever's been doing that. But, you know, and like with the dancer at the club, that's been kind of pretty rude and mean to me lately. You know, that's obviously like in real time and face to face. And with that, I guess part of the reason I don't really verbally stick up for myself then, like with her, like I have kind of just like tried to avoid her, and she's been very rude and said some very mean things to me face to face in person. And even though I'm almost 40 years old, I still haven't verbally said anything to really stick up for myself, like said anything back to her, or as little as possible. You know what I mean? Like I've mostly just tried to stay quiet and avoid her as best I can. Like I still can't really stick up for myself verbally in real time with another person like that. So, but I think part of that, I think most of that is, yes, that I can just be cowardly myself, unfortunately, but also I think part of that is because it is in person, you know, like out in the real world, in person, I see that as something where it does have the potential to escalate to possible physical uh, danger. And, you know, I don't want any of that, not just for myself, but I wouldn't want to accidentally, you know, hurt her if things were to escalate. Like, I wouldn't want to get in trouble, especially for accidentally hurting her if she were to try to physically, you know, attack me or start something that way. Like, so really, I just try to avoid that as best I can. But anyway, even though I can't help but to suspect that me being a stripper and me being in the adult industry might possibly be part of why I have been experiencing a lot of the weird, unsettling things and the types of bullying that I've been experiencing now to this day. Yes, again, some at the club face to face, but most of which seems to be, yeah, for the most part, behind my back. You know, like when I'm not around to even try to defend myself if I were so inclined to do so. Even though I can't help but to suspect that me being a stripper might possibly be a big part of why that's happened or been happening to me, me So yeah, I do have regrets about being in the adult industry. I do have regrets about becoming a stripper, for sure. But I also kind of like my YouTube has been a way for me to try to stick up for myself that way. I feel like me being a stripper has been a big, big way that I've shown myself that I am capable of being strong in at least some ways. I still have a lot of work to do with that kind of thing, but even just especially like, at least in the physical sense of like, because me being a stripper, I go on the pole a lot, more often than not, almost always, unless, it's like certain kind of circumstances or situations at that time, like my period or under the weather, that kind of thing. Yeah, again, more often than not, I go on stage a lot. I go on the pole a lot. I do pole tricks a lot, over and over. Long shifts. Lately, it's been 10-hour shifts of me doing that back to back with very little sleep in between those shifts, usually. So that's been one way that really stands out to me as a way that I've been able to show myself that in some ways, at least, I am capable of being strong. Because being a stripper, especially long term, like I have been at this point, you pretty much have to be strong. Like, or as strong as you damn well can be or get yourself to be. Um, Pretend to be, force yourself to be, whatever it might be. Like, there's really no other option with that. It can be pretty brutal in my experience. Yeah. So, yes, I do have regrets about, again, about being a stripper. If I could go back, honestly, if I could go back, sure, I mean, I would have done endless things differently. And I can't necessarily say that I would be a dancer. I can't necessarily really say that even though I've had great experiences and proven to myself how strong I can be when need be as a stripper, I still don't necessarily think that I would necessarily actively choose to be a stripper if I could go back and redo things. Experiencing what I've experienced now, or just all throughout, all my life really, but especially now that I've been in the adult industry, the things that I've experienced, especially now with that, I probably would have never moved out of my mom's house if I'll be honest. Like, as difficult as a relationship as we had, or I don't know, it's another one of those kind of things where it's like, no matter what way I try to look at it, and no matter what potential option I would try to consider in those circumstances, or I really can't win. There doesn't seem to be a right answer, with that, or so many things for me. I don't know. But obviously, regardless, whatever, I can't go back. So, and looking forward into the future, it's really not a whole lot else other than absolute terror and fear and dread that I feel damn near constantly, every single second. Awake, asleep, uh, pretty much constantly. So, but to try to be fair with that, I've met plenty of other dancers that seem to just love it so much and have a great grand old time doing it. So definitely not all of them, but at least some, I guess. Just I can't again. I obviously can't say for sure. I don't really know, but just from what I can gather, from what I can tell, from what I have seen in at least some instances, at least some of the dancers that I've met and that I've known seem to, yeah, kind of enjoy it somewhat. Or there's a couple that really seem to like, I don't know, I know Taz loves it. That's what she says. Um, yeah, my dancer friend Taz was on my channel a lot. Pretty much. But yeah, anyway, for me personally, I really don't know how to look at it. It's just because, yeah, a lot of what I experience as bullying even now to this day into my adulthood and what looks to be like going into my 40s and beyond. Like, I can't say for sure. I don't really know if that's because of being a stripper or being in the adult industry. I can only just assume, I guess, but I really don't know. It might just be because of me being me. You know, for all I know. I really don't. But anyway. Yeah, other than the one dancer that comes to mind that's been kind of giving me a hard time lately. Not I don't think she's like going out of her way to do that, thank gosh, or like right now, but when we do have interaction, like when we kind of just end up in each other's presence having interactions, she's used that opportunity to be very mean and rude to me. Um, but it's not like she's like seeking me out actively to like, you know what I mean, like hunt me down and like be mean to me just to do it kind of thing, at least from what I can gather. But that's just like her recently. She's really the only one that comes to mind. That's been like that with me lately, thank gosh. There were at least two other dancers that come to mind that had kind of been like that with me in the past. One of them actually got me written up for, I don't know, she like lied and said that I was doing something that I wasn't. And of course the managers took her side. So anyways, even with those other two, the other two were years ago, but even with them, I never stood up for myself. I almost kind of like tried to, and it's like it didn't really work out. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't really fully find my voice. I couldn't fully raise my voice. I couldn't really find the words. It was a very feeble, pathetic attempt on my part when I did kind of try to stick up for myself in those situations. It didn't really work. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm pretty much a coward and a pansy myself, so I guess my YouTube is me telling myself that I'm trying not to be, but really. Not that it really matters though, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe it could in some way, shape, or form, but I don't know. Another thing that I mentioned in the video that I did earlier today, this part is especially stupid and silly and not really worth mentioning, but I still want to do it anyway, okay? So, I don't know, I was just mentioning how up until recently they hadn't been restocking the toilet paper in the bathrooms, and I was getting really frustrated because at that point the only stall that I was able to find that still did have toilet paper was one that I'm kind of scared to use and scared to flush, because with that one the flush is just like so loud and just like so, the water kind of splashes up a little bit, like it's very powerful and it's very like, it's like this vortex. It's just like, to where I was saying earlier, like I almost get kind of like scared that it's gonna like suck me down into it and just like with the rest of what's in the toilet. It's like gonna suck the whole room into it with me in the room. But then when I was saying that earlier, I had kind of wanted to try to insert some kind of somewhat inappropriate joke about having that kind of suction power in the strip club. Not my real ex, but the last guy that I like, this was also many, well, the toilet paper part that I was just saying wasn't years ago, but a lot of other stuff that I've mentioned has been years ago. So the last guy, like, again, not my real ex, but the last guy, this part was many years ago. The last guy that I sort of almost had a thing with, like, to where we were kind of hooking up for a little while. Um, he wasn't terrible to me, but he wasn't that great either. Which is, you know, a big part of why I stopped bothering with him. Oh, it's 7:30 on the dot. He sent me a text message for Christmas last year, and I feel bad, but not only did I not reply to it, I didn't even click on it, because you know how, like, sometimes if you click on a text message to fully read the whole thing, it'll show on the other person's end. They can see that you've read, like, that you've seen and read their text message, basically. I didn't, not only did I not feel comfortable replying to him, I didn't even want him to see that I had, like, read his text message. Like, I didn't want him to even know that I had the same number. I really just wanted to ignore it completely, and that's what I did. Again, I feel kind of bad, like, a part of me does, but again, like, he wasn't that great to me either. Like, and you know what? I didn't have to click on his text message to read the full thing, because all that it said was, I'm pretty sure all it said was Merry Christmas, like 2 words, or there might have been a few other words in there, but I just remember however many words there were, it was short enough to the point where I could see the full thing, like read the full entire text message without even clicking on it, basically. Like, I could read the whole thing just in my inbox, like looking at it from that way. Anyway, I just remember he would have wished that I had that kind of suction power myself. Because he actually did used to give me a hard time about that, like, oh, in a really weird, oh God, in a really weird, rude way. That was like, oh God, but he was, I didn't, God, disgusting. That would have been what, almost 10 years ago at this point? That would have been 2017 or 18, almost 10 years. And to this day, never again. Literally. Which is probably a big part of why I'm in such dire straits now and for a while. Because I just, yeah, don't hook up with people anymore. But I try to tell myself that can't possibly be the only reason. There's so many other things that must factor into that. Into this mess of a situation I've got going on here now and for a while. For a while now. Anyway, that wasn't really worth mentioning either. But I still wanted to. Because it was here in my notes, and that last little bit I forgot to include earlier. I think that's everything for now. Oh, this is also kind of like whatever, but after this, assuming, well, if this video posts okay, I was pretty surprised, pleasantly surprised, I think, but surprised also, just, yeah, surprised. Also in the general sense, just very surprised, actually, that the video that I did earlier today, that was almost 2 hours, as of now, it looks like that one did actually post okay. So if this one posts okay as well, after this, I will probably try, like as has been the case for quite a while now, I have tons and tons of notes to do future videos that will probably also be, you know, just a lot of talking, and on the longer side, me trying to explain myself or speak my piece or just talk, just ramble, just, you know, just to get stuff off my chest, I guess. I don't know. But I want to maybe space those out a little more. Now that the weather's getting better, like getting warmer for spring and summer. Maybe try to space those out a little and um like in the meantime, I think for a little while I want to try to just because lately I've been doing a lot of like really long, kind of serious videos lately that are just really like talking about a lot of stuff that's really difficult for me to talk about and just a lot of stuff. You know, there's been a lot of stuff this year that's been just, I don't know, just kind of a lot for me. So I think, yeah, I still want to, you know, make longer videos like talking about a lot of stuff, you know, going forward into the future, but again, maybe just for the warmer weather months coming up, maybe space them out a little bit and mostly in the meantime, try to do some shorter kind of like more fun types of videos, just like, you know, the live Q&A was an idea that I've been talking about lately. Gonna try to get to that one before the end of this month of May if I can. Hopefully I can try to do that. Also, I'd like to do an astrology video talking about, because I know I would have so much fun with that and just nice and lighthearted fun, you know, nothing too serious with that really, which would be great. I'd like to think. Also, so we are supposed to be, I mean, yeah, the weather's getting warmer, getting, you know, we're getting into the warmer weather for now. And lately, this particular week, it's been kind of rainy, kind of cloudy and cool, but today is Friday, and I think this Sunday, we're supposed to get a pretty warm, sunny day. Even tomorrow, I think, is supposed to be pretty warm and sunny. Although I probably won't be going out tomorrow. But now that I think about it, what I'm about to mention, this could be an incentive for me to maybe go out tomorrow, actually. Either possible, so I guess, yeah, either maybe tomorrow or Sunday. Basically on a nice, warm, sunny day. As far as doing like a quick, short, little kind of fun kind of video, like upcoming, I would really like to do a frozen yogurt mukbang with you guys because the past week, even though it's only been like pretty much, yeah, just like 1 week, I guess, it feels like a lifetime because the past week I've been kind of like lowering my carbs a little bit, I guess, or trying to, which for me, I had done that in the past kind of like, but many, many, many years ago. Whereas much more recently for the past few years, I've for the most part had a very, very high carb, high sugar diet, like pretty much addicted to sugar, honestly. So, I'm kind of just, I guess, doing a little experiment right now with lowering my carbs a little bit. Not completely or anything, like there's, you know, but just lower than what I'm used to. So yeah, even though it's been like barely even a week, for me being like such a carb lover and sugar addict pretty much, this past week has felt like a lifetime. So with the warmer weather, I would really like to maybe, I've just really been craving like frozen yogurt. So I was thinking, and yeah, I think I mentioned earlier in this video, but I know that I've mentioned this a lot recently. I lock a lot of my stuff up in the fridge here at this apartment. So the fridge and the freezer are off and unplugged. So it's not like I could just get frozen yogurt and bring it back to this apartment and store it in the freezer here, again, because it's off. So if I were to want to have or enjoy something like frozen yogurt, I would pretty much, I'd probably need to have it like at the grocery store like moments after I purchase it. I would, especially in warm weather, I'd pretty much just have to like have it in the store like right after I buy it. But luckily, the two main stores that I shop at, they both have like an area where I want to think I could do that kind of thing. They both have this little almost like lobby kind of area with like tables and chairs and electrical outlets. Um, you know, like pretty nice areas. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I could probably do a video from one of those, possibly even both of those spots, locations. And I could also charge my phone while doing it, which is always a plus for me. Um, so yeah, I'd definitely like to try that. Um, there's this, there's also this, Dole Whip. So I guess Dole Whip is like something that was like a feature, like a big thing at like Disney World or whatever, which, you know, I don't really go to Disney World, but apparently they sell it in stores now. Because I remember like I watch like food videos and mukbangs on YouTube sometimes just to like try to get my vicarious fix that way, like, you know, like especially when I'm on a diet, you know, like maybe just trying to vicariously enjoy stuff that way, like watching other people have it. So, um, so that's where I first learned about Dole Whip, was on YouTube videos, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, that looks so good. Apparently that's something that they sell in the stores now. So I was really excited when I saw that. I saw that here in one of the stores that I go to like very recently, maybe like last week or something. But I will say, as much as I want to try it, I I checked the label and it has like over 10 grams of saturated fat, which you know, I kind of try to avoid like having a lot of saturated fat like that. Like, I don't know. I guess it's not too bad. Like, I think they say 20 grams is supposed to be like the most you're supposed to have in a day. But I don't know. Over 10 for like one thing still seems like a lot to me. I guess I wouldn't have to finish the whole pint or whatever, but I mean it's very expensive like anything these days, especially for me, like barely having an income. So I wouldn't want to just like spend the money on it and then not finish it and waste it. Maybe I could just like have some and then try to give it to somebody else, but I can't just like I don't know that somebody else would be around to like want to have it, like have the rest of it, you know what I mean? So I probably won't have the Dole Whip as much as I would like to try it. If I could find like maybe a really small one, like less than a pint, like 1 or 2 serving sizes of it, maybe I would try to get that and try it with you guys. But what I do definitely want to try with you guys is this brand of frozen yogurt that I have seen in the stores, which is also, yeah, like pretty expensive, especially for me. But I think, I don't know, it's still something that I would probably be willing to get like once or twice or like maybe a few times, like for the warmer weather. Um, and with that, it doesn't have nearly as much saturated fat listed on the label anyway. So with that, I feel like I would, based on what the label says for like the nutrition facts, I would feel okay just eating the entire pint in one sitting. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's like just a pint, you know what I mean? Like no big deal, but so I might, depending on, I mean, it is supposed to be pretty warm, I think, Sunday. So depending on just how warm it is and if I'm able to get up in time, maybe I could do that with you guys on Sunday or possibly even tomorrow. That would definitely be my only reason to go out tomorrow. But I have really been craving it. I have really been wanting to try it. It's been so long since I've had anything like that, like frozen yogurt or I mean, I really didn't have anything cold last summer. Where I am, summer is very short, very brief, but it does get very, very hot, like over 90 degrees for most of July, or for definitely for a lot of July and August. So with my fridge and freezer being off, yeah, last summer I just kind of suffered through it as best I could. Like I don't have AC that I put on. I mean, I actually have an air conditioner in this room, like right over there, but I don't bother to put it in anymore for the past few years because it's just too expensive for me. And so anyway, yeah, I didn't have anything. What I had been doing, like the first couple years after not using the air conditioner anymore, I had been getting like frozen fruit and stuff and just having that. But last summer I didn't even do that. Or like, I used to have like frozen drinks before I completely shut the fridge and freezer off. And then last summer I didn't even do that, partly because I was afraid that stuff would like thaw out or melt too much, like in the trip back to here. And also because I don't know, I had like a tooth that was really hurting and sensitive to temperature, stuff like that last year. I don't know. I want to think like for a while now, it seemed like it's better, like healing up or whatever, like on its own somehow, just magically. Um, I don't know. It's really weird because for the past multiple months, it's felt a lot better to where it was hardly bothering me at all anymore. Um, and literally just like a few days or nights ago, it was starting to almost bother me a little bit again, but thankfully nowhere near as bad as it had been before. So I'm not really too sure what that would be about. Like right now it feels fine. Like I don't want to jinx it. I'll literally knock on this wooden wall right now. I don't want to jinx it. Right now it feels fine. But just a few days ago it was almost starting to act up again, it seemed like. And then but last year, so I remember last year, especially in June, I can particularly remember June, it was so bad to where it was like an 8 or 9 like out of 10 for like the pain. And it was bad enough to where I was actually considering like going to a walk-in dentist to maybe get it looked at or taken care of or whatever. But obviously that would cost money and I don't have health insurance, so I really was trying not to do that. And I did manage to hold off and not do that, but I came very close at some points because it was really bothering me. And yeah, like sensitive to hot, sensitive to cold, sensitive to just temperatures like that. So I don't know why it would have magically gotten better on its own somehow, but that has seemed to be the case for, I forget when it started to really seem to get better, but it's been a while now. And it was so weird because it hadn't bothered me at all up until just a few days ago. It was kind of coming back a little bit, maybe. Like, it's hard to explain. It's so weird. It's so weird, but I don't know. I've still been having hot coffee though. And like I've also been having hot coffee the past couple days, like since I was kind of almost noticing it again. And the hot coffee doesn't really seem to make a difference, surprisingly. So I guess I could really maybe try to be brave and test out the cold temperature too, just with the frozen yogurt, just to see how that goes. Um, I guess maybe as like a little experiment. All I know is that I have been craving frozen yogurt like a mofo. And again, I wouldn't be able to bring it back to this apartment because the fridge and the freezer are off. So maybe I could do that, have that with you guys here in a video, just a short and sweet, fun little video for me to do with you guys, just to come on and say hello and have my frozen yogurt. And maybe show you guys like the lobby of some of the grocery stores that I go to and see who else or what else ends up happening to be in the background on camera. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so maybe that's something I could try to do tomorrow or Sunday. Not very likely that I would be able to get up in time or get out in time to squeeze that in on Sunday, because I usually start my work week at the club on Sunday and try to get to the club by a certain time. But we'll see. That's something that I might try to do soon. Just, yeah, to have a short, sweet, kind of fun little video rather than a long, elaborate, rambling, just how most of my videos are. Like this one. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to think of stuff to cheer myself up, you know what I mean? Because this is obviously disturbing. Not nearly as disturbing as the hairbrush in my car being all cut and damaged and tampered with and all that. But still disturbing. This is, like an added, this just adds to that. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, whoever did that, I dare you to do this one next. I'll just play along as best I can with this horrific slash fun little game. Fun for them, I'm assuming, but horrific for me. But you know what? Here we go. I don't know. I double dog dare you. I'm just going to leave it right here. I'm leaving it right here where it was, right where the camera was for this video. So I'll try to keep you guys updated on that as well. Oh, I also dared them to just completely take the other pink hairbrush in my car, the one that they clipped originally, I'm pretty sure, or the first one that I noticed being clipped. I left that in my car. That was the whole problem, that I left it in my car in the first place. Like, I knew the entire time, even before it happened, I was like, I should just carry this around with me everywhere, like I do all my favorite stuff, or as much of my favorite stuff as I can manage to carry around with me. You know, lift and carry around with me. Lug around with me, if you will. And sure enough, I kind of just assumed that they would take it, but before I even said that. But so far, they just destroyed it. They just cut the spokes off. So that was that part. So now my other dare was, yeah, let's see if they actually take the whole hairbrush out of the car next time. Because that would really be interesting. And then, for me anyway, and maybe for them, I'm assuming, if they're going to bother to do shit like that. So, I'll try to update on this stuff. The pink hairbrush in the car and this stupid thing. This stupid yellow comb. So that's next on the list for them, maybe. Or maybe they'll just do something else. Like, I never know what's coming next with stuff like this, obviously. Like, I can only guess and try not to think about it too much. And then other times, I guess, just dare them to, I don't know. So that's maybe next for them. And then next for me is maybe live Q&A. Frozen yogurt mukbang. Not mukbang. I'm not going to call it a mukbang because it's not like I'm only going to have like 1 pint. So we'll call it a frozen yogurt video. Just a regular old video, but with frozen yogurt to make it better. Or try to. So there's that. And then there's the live Q&A, the frozen yogurt. What was the other one? The astrology video. I'd really like to try to do soon too. That could be fun. Yes. So yeah, there's some stuff to cheer myself up. Besides the carrots, of course. I have the carrots. They are safe and secure, as best as they can be, I guess. They're with me now on the other side, in the other room over there. I have lots and lots of carrots now, for now. And hopefully going into the next few days at least. To keep me company and just to munch on and just enjoy. So there's the carrots, yes, and then I have these 3 videos ideas to think about, to try to like look forward to and cheer myself up. So yeah, I'm in a great mood. Absolutely. It's a great Friday. Regardless, I'm having a fantastic Friday. Oh, that reminds me though. You know what else I was gonna say? I'll just try to say this to you real quick. I was talking lately about how there was this guy that we were kind of texting a little bit. I got his number at the club like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. So I was the one to ask him for his number. And then with that, obviously, I was the first one to like text him like a week after that. And since I was the one to initiate all that, I kind of just assumed that it probably wasn't going to go anywhere and that he probably wasn't all that interested or wasn't going to text me back. And then we were going to hang out last week, but I don't know. I was at the gym and he was like working late or like had a birthday party to go to or whatever, but he did text me the other day, and he was like, oh, can I try to make up Friday to you? He basically just like asked me out to dinner for, like Friday, which would be today or tonight basically. So I feel kind of bad, but I haven't gotten back to him because when I was thinking about us hanging out or possibly like hanging out, I don't know, I was kind of hoping maybe we could do something fun, like just, I don't know, or just something besides going out to eat. Like I hate restaurants so much. I used to work in them, so I've been behind the scenes in restaurants and I just don't like them. I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I just don't like them for me. I just don't like them. So, like I was hoping maybe we could go to the beach or like go on a walk or go to a shooting range. I've never shot a gun before, so I thought that might be interesting to learn how to do that, you know. Um, I am a convicted felon, so I'm not sure. I've been meaning to Google if felons are even allowed on gun ranges, but I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Like I said, I've been meaning to look that up online, which I will try to maybe remember to do later if I can. Or even if they're not, maybe like go to like an axe throwing place, because I've heard about there being a place like that around here. Which where I'm from, there's really nothing to do, but I've at least heard about like I think I saw on Facebook a while back, they were like, oh, there's this place for axe throwing. And I was like, that sounds like fun, or I don't know, just anything other than go out to eat, basically. He was like, will you join me for dinner on Friday night? And I was like, I just don't know, like, I don't know how to respond in a way that would sound somewhat normal, where it's like, can we do anything else besides go out to eat? Like, I hate restaurants so much. I used to work at them and I just hate them so much. So far I haven't been able to come up with a way to like respond, so I guess I'm just not going to, apparently. But I don't know, it kind of sucks because it's like, is that all people do? Is that all people can think to do, is just go out to eat, like, for a date idea? Like, come on, like, there's other stuff people can do, right? Like, I mean, I guess it would be a nice way to sit down and try to get to know somebody, but can't you just do that, like, going for a walk or, like, just doing other stuff too? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, but you know what I was thinking about with that? So, I actually didn't know this when I asked him for his number. When I asked him for his number, I didn't really know his name. I know that probably sounds weird, but maybe he had technically introduced himself already at that point. But this was back at the strip club, so, the music is loud. And there was like another dancer like sitting with him talking too. So it was kind of like almost like a group conversation for most of that time. And he was also there with a friend of his. So it really was like a group sitting at the table. And his name is very like common and just not really that memorable, I guess. Well, it's memorable to me now, but first meeting him and stuff, it kind of just like in one ear, not the other, or if I even heard it at all in the first place to begin with at that point, you know what I mean? So, um, I didn't really register this when I asked him for his number, but when I did ask him for his number, he typed his name into my phone. His name, apparently, again, it's a very common name, but it's common enough to where it's also the same name as my mom's husband. And it's also the same name as a guy that my grandmother had used to be married to many, many years ago. And it's really weird to me. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it just seems weird to me, like the thought of like being with a guy or dating a guy that has the same name as my mom's husband. Again, even if it is a common name, like a lot of people, especially guys, seem to have pretty common names. But or like even for my mom, like my mom had told me that the guy that my grandmother was married to that had that same name, apparently he was pretty abusive to my mom and her brother, her younger brother, when they were kids. So I kind of can't help but wonder, like, wouldn't that be difficult for her to be married to a guy that has the same name as a guy that used to be abusive to her when she was a kid? Or like growing up or whatever? But I mean, I don't know. Even though my grandmother's husband that had that name was apparently not that great of a guy and possibly abusive, um, the guy that my mom is married to now, he actually seems to be like a pretty nice guy. Or he was always pretty nice to me when I was around him before. Like, I don't know. him and my younger brother had issues, but so I guess he wasn't super nice to my younger brother, but he was nice to me. I don't know. It was just another one of those weird things, I guess. But I don't know. Why do people's names have, like, why do so many people have to have such common names, especially guys? Like, I don't need to be reminded of, like, because so many guys are just jerks. I mean, okay, no, I don't want to say that. So many people, so many humans are not very nice people. So it's like, you know, especially having a common name, there's such a high chance, I feel like, that you're going to remind somebody of some other person that used to have that name that they used to know or that they do or did know that might not be that might bring up bad memories for them. You know what I mean? But this is just another thing but guys actually love that, right? No, that's just another thing that sadistic side where it's like, that's the whole point. That's the whole point towards women. To just remind them of all of these horrible things and memories, and there's no escape from it. So yeah, when I looked at my phone and saw that he had typed in the number with his name next to it, I was like, oh crap. Like why? Like, like why does he have to have this freaking name? But thinking about that more too, it's like, well, I have one younger brother. As far as like my siblings, it's just me, my younger brother. As far as like the kids my mom had. And then my mom also has just one sibling, so just one younger brother. So it's kind of like a little bit of a repeating pattern between my grandmother, my mom, and me. Also, my grandmother, my mom, and me were all the same height. Like, we're the exact same height. We all have the same color eyes. All three of us. We all, like, there's a lot of similarities where it just seems like a repeating pattern. And I know that thing is probably pretty common within families. Like, that's the whole point of, like, genetics, pretty much, kind of thing. But there can be so many variations with that, too, at the same time, I feel like, in other instances, or a lot of other instances, it seems like. So I don't want to be, I don't want my whole purpose with that just to be, like, another repetition in a series of repetitions, if that makes sense. Like, I want to be my own person. I want to do my own things. Like, I don't want to just be, and yeah, my mom said that she suffered abuse when she was a kid. And my childhood, for the most part, was actually pretty good. Parts of it were actually really great. But there also were some parts of it that I might also consider to be slightly abusive or maybe borderline so. And especially now, like going into adulthood, like now, like I experience some pretty crappy things now, just especially like being a single woman in the adult industry and like all of these weird little things happening in my car, in the apartment that I stay at, where I really don't feel safe or secure in any given situation at any point in time. I'm always on edge. I'm always just like hyper uh anxious. You know what I mean? Just extreme anxiety, extreme depression, like extremely bad. Um so I don't know. It's just I noticed these repeating patterns there. You know what I mean? Like my biological dad has never really been in my life. My mom's biological dad wasn't in her life all that much. Or he's still alive right now, but like now and for quite a while he hasn't been in her life either. So I think maybe when she was like on the younger side, kind of like same with, well, not my biological dad. My biological dad was never really in the picture, but my younger brother's dad adopted me and he was kind of in the picture when I was young. And then the older I got, kind of like the less and less, so like the less and less he was in my life and in the picture, to where he's not at all really anymore now and hasn't been for a while. And then, yeah, my mom's biological dad, like, he hasn't been in her life for a very long time. So it's just these kind of like, you know how they say, like, you gotta sometimes be the one to break the cycle, or like the generational trauma, as I've heard it referred to. Like, as much as this guy that I met at the club seems like a really nice, great guy, Like, obviously, that's why I asked him for his number in the first place. But then it's really hard for me to not take it as a sign that he would have the same name as, like these guys that have been in both my mother's life and my grandmother's life. Like, also, the guy that my grandmother was married to that had that same name, he died in a car crash, which I guess that's not really that like relevant to what I'm saying, but I don't know. I mean, I had a stressful situation in my car earlier. Car, carrots. You can't spell carrots without the word car. That's the first three letters. Carrots, carrots. And the hairbrush thing, the first hairbrush that I noticed where the things were cut off, that happened in my car earlier. I've been in a car accident too, and so has my mom, and see how these things all connect somehow in these their weird little ways. I don't know. Just my gram told me that she, well, like she has a burial plot that she bought, I guess for herself, or like she wants to be buried next to, she's been married 3 times, and she wants to be buried next to her most recent husband, basically, like her third husband, and who passed away a couple years ago, 3 years ago actually. So he was not my mom's biological dad or my biological grandfather, but anyways, I think she just was the closest to him, and I think she actually was like genuinely in love with him. Or she seemed to be. She says that she seemed to be, that kind of thing. So she wants, when she passes away, she wants to be buried next to him. And she was talking about that with me whenever it was, a while back or a little while back. And she said that she also had a burial plot picked out for like other members of our family. So she was basically saying that if I wanted to, I could have myself, like there would be room basically in that area for me to be buried as well if I wanted to be. And I didn't want to be offensive, so I also, I don't know, like when she mentioned it, I was just like, oh, thanks, like, okay, sure, why not? But I don't want to, I don't feel like, it's weird because technically I have lived in the general area that I'm in now. So where she is now and where that area is, it's like one state away from where I am now and where I've been for a while. I've always lived in this general area my entire life, pretty much. But I don't feel like I'm really from here. I don't feel like I really belong here. I don't think I would want to have my remains or the rest of like my body, the rest of my body after I pass on. I don't think I would want it to be in this area. Like, I really freaking hope that I don't die here. I really just, I want to go and experience other places and other things. I can't get myself to actually do that right now, and I never have been, but there is such a big part of me that's like, I just don't, this doesn't feel like home to me. Like, it's weird. This apartment does, which kind of sucks because, again, this is my landlord's apartment, not mine. Like, I want to stay here as long as possible because I've been here long enough now to where it feels like the closest thing to home that I've probably ever had. But also mainly because this is the only kind of place I feel like I can sort of afford. I can barely afford this. But I know that I wouldn't be able to afford anywhere else. You know what I mean? Or highly, highly unlikely, unless some magical, wonderful thing were to happen. Like, I don't know how to figure that out. You know what I mean? So it feels like home to a point for certain reasons, but mostly just because of lack of better options or better anything else, really. But that's just this apartment, like just this building, basically. And then, you know, the club that I've been dancing at for quite a while now, that also feels like home to a point. But again, not only have I never danced in any other strip club, I've never even stepped foot inside any other strip club. So it feels like home to me, yes, to a point. But outside of this apartment, outside of that club, the general area that I'm in, the state that I'm in, and that I've been in for such a long time, I just feel like I'm meant for something bigger, something better, something more. Obviously, I could very well be wrong, and that's probably just wishful thinking. But it's just such a depressing place to be. There's nothing going on. It's just, in a lot of ways, I've said before, but I'll say it again. In a lot of ways, it feels like this just kind of wasteland of devastation, almost. Like, yeah, that's maybe being a bit dramatic, but also not really that much. Like, you know, obviously there's different areas. Like, you can drive to one specific area, and maybe that is being dramatic. You can drive right down the road or to another area within the same state lines, within the same town where I'm from, and it's not really being that dramatic anymore. That's actually kind of more so really how it is, it seems like, or at least it seems like to me. So I'm not farting, by the way. It's just, there's like a leather. This is a big black sheet of leather that I used to hang. I have this contraption that I rigged, not in this room, it's actually in a different room, but I rigged it, it's another one of those things where I would, in theory, love to show it on camera right now, but I just, you know, I don't want to really actually do that. But I used to hang, it's like this wooden beam that I rigged up and I have hanging from the ceiling. It's like really long, and I used to hang this on there as a background for pictures. I used to get, this was mostly for my Facebook, and many, many, many years ago. I really don't feel like I have the time or the energy to do this these days, although it's another one of those things that I'm like always wishing and wanting to get back into, like trying to make the time, like in my brain, like I'm like, you know, get back to it, do that again, like, because I used to, I mean, that wasn't even for like any real actual like fan sites, or it wasn't for like webcamming or OnlyFans or anything like that. Like, those pictures were for my Facebook, and I haven't even been able to log into my Facebook for a very long time now, which really sucks because it just feels like another way that I'm being bullied and harassed and messed with. You know what I mean? Like, I have, or I had, I don't know if I can say I have or I had, because at this point I don't even know, but like on my Facebook I had so many pictures and videos that I put so much work into, and a lot of them, yeah, I would hang, you see this, I have this one too. This is actually, you guys are on an ironing board right now. So I would iron my fabrics, not the leather one obviously, but I would iron fabrics like this. I have a whole bunch of fabrics that I would make, like hang up on the wooden thing as like the wooden stick thing hanging from the ceiling. I would, which I rigged up all by myself, by the way. Like, this apartment didn't come like that. Like, I made it that way. I would hang up fabrics and have them be like this solid color background, or pattern background in a lot of cases, but like this solid fabric background. For pictures, and I got a lot of what I'd like to call a lot of great pictures that way. But that was so many years ago. And even though I want to think they might still be on my Facebook, I wouldn't know because, again, I haven't been able to log into my Facebook in so long. So And with that, it's like I actually did finally get around. I've mentioned also recently that I did finally get around to making a separate Facebook page to go along with this channel. But because my Facebook also automatically logs me out of that new account, and just like any account, it'll just like automatically log me out anytime that I had been logged on recently, or my main account I hadn't been logged on to for very recently, but even back when I used to be, it would just automatically log me out after every time I shut my laptop off. So the anxiety has been too much for me to try to log back in to the Facebook account that I made for this channel, my separate Facebook. I really, really wish, I really, really want to tell myself that I'll hopefully finally at some point be able to do that. But because I've just had, because crap, this is probably gonna mess up the stream. Because I've had so many issues with even just my main Facebook before, I kind of just feel, for the most part, pretty much hopeless when it comes to anything that I try to do online or otherwise. Yeah, anyways. But so yeah, I don't feel like I'm meant to be from around this area though. Like, I don't want to be, I've joked before that when I do die, I want my head lopped off with my earmuffs still on, and I want my earmuffs secured onto my head. That's the only part that I care about. And I want my head like shot out of a cannon over the Pacific Ocean, which I'm by the Atlantic Ocean, mind you, by the way. So I want to be on the other side. I want to be the Pacific Ocean. Either ocean, honestly, it really doesn't matter that much with the ocean part. The part that really matters to me is the earmuffs. That's the biggest thing. That's the only thing. And maybe a carrot in my mouth too. That would make it even better. Oh my gosh, it would. But on that note, like, because I'm thinking of the Pacific Ocean mostly, like the west side, the west coast, I feel like, even though I've never been there, I feel like my remains, the rest of me, or the majority of my remains, the head and the earmuffs, again, just shot out the cannon over the ocean, but the rest of me, I feel like, I'm sure people will do what they want with that, like they've done to me my entire life, just do whatever they want with me. But if I really had a choice in anything ever, I would want the rest of me to be somewhere in Hollywood, probably. Like next to all the famous superstars, like that's where I belong. Like that's where my spirit is. That's where my soul belongs. Like with all the big time famous people, of course. Like that's how I see myself. I don't care how anyone else sees me. I mean, I do, but I don't. But mostly I don't. I care how I see myself. And how I see myself. Oh, let's do it this way. I'll be thinking more about this. How I see myself is that's where I belong. I belong in Hollywood. I belong, like Fred Astaire, Marilyn Monroe. The list goes on and on and on. Michael Jackson. Like that's what I feel like I resonate with. Nowhere near, nothing like where I'm actually from, how things have actually been for me so far. Like, ugh, gross, no. I just want to forget all about all of this. And like if I were to move somewhere, like eventually at some point, and there'd be like fat chance of this happening, first of all, but also a fat chance of, out of my 1,000 subscribers, a fat chance of somebody being like, again, fat chance besides, but also especially fat chance of somebody being like, oh, I think I might recognize you from somewhere. Aren't you on YouTube? That's like the dream for every YouTube superstar, right? Like, oh my gosh, they recognize me from my YouTube. If that were to happen to me, I would vehemently deny it. I'd be like, oh God, no, what are you talking about? And then if they were to like show me my channel, be like, isn't this you here? I would be like, no, that is not me. That never has been me. That never will be me. That's somebody else. That's like maybe a side of some ego that did exist or has existed, or this is not all that I am, okay? Like, I'm not one person. I I refuse to be confined or limited to just this bullshit. Like, come on. Like, no. This is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? This is a very, very small part of myself. This is a very, very small part of who I am, and what I could or will be. Like, just because other people might want to try to box me into this little cage of basically hell, like, or damn close to it. No, like, I'm able to transcend, at least in some way or on some level. This is another thing that I have to work on, or I'm going to try to work on, like, to improve this skill set and ability, to try to actually really be able to do this for real. But, and I've said, I actually made an entire video about this before. This video that I'm referring to, this one was actually pretty far back. I think that one was actually a regular style video rather than a live. I was talking about how this version that I'm portraying now, just for now in these moments, this is like me trying to be my own angel, sticking up, trying to stick up for just one tiny fragment of the whole, just one tiny fragment, just one tiny aspect of someone or something. Somebody that was on this earth, somebody that existed and went through things, and a version of them, some part of them, some fragment tried to address that, tried to talk about it, tried to document it as best they could. It's not like I'm like possessed or like need an exorcist or anything. Like, I'm still partly this, but this is not all that I am. Does that make sense? Like, I know that I need to be able to try to transcend this, like, because this is whatever this body is experiencing or has experienced or is experiencing still is mostly pretty disgusting and disturbing, and just probably only going to continue to get worse and more disturbing, and just, like, so I'm trying to do, mind you, I'm trying to do this version of whatever this is trying to do what they can as best as they can now, while they still have some semblance of ability and resources to do so. Trying to speak my piece for this person, for this part of this, whatever you want to call it, at this moment, from this time and location. I'm trying, or they're trying, or I'm trying, something's trying to do what they can for this this part, this instance, this fragment of existence, part of the whole, part of something much, much bigger, I'd like to think. And I do feel that way. I'm trying to be my own angel, because someday, eventually, I will finally fucking die and no longer have to be in this particular instance of existence, this particular example of it. And, maybe I could somehow, some way move on in that way to bigger and better things. Although I'd ideally like to do that while still in this particular body, like in this lifetime. Ideally, yes, in this lifetime, that would be even better. And I'd like to try to do that first and foremost, or before this body dies. Finally. Before this part is finally over. God. What a nightmare. I'm being my own angel now while I can for this body. Whatever is in this body, they're trying to do what they can. For this tiny little speck, this tiny little fragment of the human population at large, of this one tiny little specific example of the whole, of the bigger picture. It's very, very difficult to try to word this out, but I did make another video specifically about that pretty much. Anyway, hopefully it's still on my channel. Hopefully it still exists. Oh, and so also, if after my head with the earmuffs, after that's shot out of a cannon over the ocean, with a carrot also in my mouth now, apparently too, yes, as part of I'm adding that into that idea. The rest of me, if the rest of me were to be buried, like I said, I really don't care about the rest of me, like they're gonna do what they want to do, but let's just say in theory, if I were to, part of what I think might be an option that I would consider for the rest of me would be, if I were to be buried, I would at least want the casket to be, well, I don't know if this is actually a real thing that actually exists or not, but you know what? I feel like the time on my phone has stayed the same for like 5 minutes at least now. The time's not changing. It's been 8:25 for like the past hour. That's concerning. That's really fucking disturbing. It still hasn't switched over to 8:26. Oh, there, it just did it. Okay. It heard me. Anyways, the rest of me, oh, if the rest of me were to be like put in a casket or whatever, I would at least want it to be the type of wood. I would want it to be the same type of wood as Harry Potter's wand in the Harry Potter books. I think his wand was made of, was it even made of wood? It was like called the Elder Wand, wasn't it? What was it? I should have looked into this more before I started to say this. I should have Googled this before, but there was literally one of the, out of the, what was it, 7 Harry Potter books, one of the books was literally called the Elder Wand or something? I can't remember. I haven't read those books in so damn long, okay? Or watched the movies for a while. So, because that's from Harry Potter, aka a made-up fantasy book, or series, or whatever, that probably isn't even a real thing. Is elder wood a type of wood? The Elder Wand, the Elder Wood Wand. If possible, I think I would want the casket to be made of the same wood as Harry Potter's wand was in the books. But again, whatever with that. Like, I really don't care that much about that part. Or maybe cedar. I've always really liked cedar. Cedar smells so magical to me. So okay, if that's not possible for the Harry Potter part, we'll just say cedar. Oh, and it's 8:27 right now, by the way, so apparently the time has resumed. But again, that part's more like just what, oh, now it's 8:28. That part's mostly just whatever. Again, the main thing is just the head with the earmuffs and now the carrot as well. Anyway, so I think that's all for tonight. It's almost 8:30, 8:28. Time has resumed, apparently. I swear, I'm pretty sure the time said 8:25 for like way more than 1 minute. It said 8:25 for probably at least 5 solid minutes. I swear. Maybe I was just imagining that. I just know that I was like trying to obviously talk and like verbalize stuff as best I could, so I was mostly focused on that. But rather than actually like watching myself in the view screen, like watching myself on camera, I've mostly been staring at the time for most of this entire time that I've been doing this video. So with that, I was kind of just like blankly staring at 8:25 for, again, what eventually ended up seeming like at least 5 solid minutes straight. And then more and more, it kind of just was like, wait a minute, 8:25, 8:25, 8:25, 8:25. Anyway, a slightly frozen moment in time, kind of, whatever. Better than my video actually freezing like they often do. Remember this? I'm still gonna leave it right here. Very easy to access, like all my stuff pretty much, apparently. Even the stuff that's locked up in the fridge. Okay, like, I will just also say real quick, even the stuff that I lock up in the fridge, I'm pretty sure stuff's also been tampered with in there. I'm pretty sure they've also gotten into the fridge. I don't want to really like harp on that part too much because that's especially disturbing, but it's all disturbing to me. It's all pretty crap. Anyway, I think that's all that I wanted to try to get to for now. Unless I have to redo this all over again after. At least my phone's charging this time. And I will also, oh, it's 8:30 on the dot. Ding! I will also say though, I have no idea what time I started this video. I like have no idea. I really should have obviously checked that or made a mental note of it, or maybe an actual note. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head though that I feel like I can remember saying at points throughout this video. I know that at one point I said it was 7:30 on the dot. I'm pretty sure at one point I said it was 6:30 on the dot too though. But I actually don't really know. Dare I check the timestamp? I just know that when I lift off the thing from the timestamp to see underneath it for the view count and the timestamp, it's probably going to say that I have 1 viewer. And as far as the timestamp, that I really have no idea. Which isn't great either. Well, I want to end the stream now, but I don't really know what to do or how. Pretty much the only way for me to end the stream is to lift off the... It's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to click the off button without lifting off the hair tie to also show the timestamp and view count. So I guess I'll just try to brace myself as best I can. Try to prepare whatever look I'm going to have on my face, like the look of like sheer terror and disappointment to see the number 1 or 0. I guess in this case 0 might be worse actually. I usually say that 1 is worse than 0, but in this case 0 might actually be the worst one, or worse than 1. I'll be honest, I am going to try my best to just lift the very left-hand corner of the hair tie just to click the X real quick, because I don't want to additionally provide a reaction to see the number 1 or 0. Like, it's been between my earlier stream that was almost 2 hours and then doing this one, it feels like it's been a lot for me with the streams today, and I just, especially with earlier the hairbrush and now this hairbrush too, just, you know, I just want to go have my hair. It's okay. So, and other stuff too, vegetables and protein and yay. Also, yeah, I'm obviously at the apartment that I stay at right now, and I have no background noise or background music right now, so thank gosh, because normally I can hear my neighbors through the wall like near constantly. I'm actually really surprised that I haven't heard them pretty much this entire stream. I don't think I've heard them over there, which is really, really, that's a very, very rare thing. It's also a bit sus. It's also another thing that's very suspicious to me. What if they're just on the other side of the wall with like a glass to their ear? Like, why else would it be that quiet? Like, I can always hear them over there. Like, you know what else I can hear? I can hear my heartbeat in my ear. Only in my right ear, though. It's really weird. I'm guessing there might be something going on with that. I would assume, I would imagine, but... Well, that's been happening for a while. I can first remember, like, first noticing that back in 2020, go figure. So I don't know if that was like a COVID thing, or I'm pretty sure I noticed that before I actually got COVID though. So that's weird to think about. I really only notice it though, like when I'm laying down in bed, like with little to no background noise, you know what I mean? Like, Or like now, there's really no background noise, so I can hear it. I don't know. It's obviously like it's kind of bothersome sometimes and it's kind of annoying, but in some ways I don't mind it because I find it easier to try to measure my heart rate that way. Like rather than having to find my pulse in my neck or my wrist, I can just like hear it a lot of the time. So I can kind of just like count it that way. Strange though, yeah. I think it's called, I have Googled this. I'm pretty sure it's called well, it's a form of tinnitus. It's a type of, because tinnitus is usually ringing in the ears, I think, but there's also like this type, it's not ringing, it's just the heartbeat. So it's like a whoosh, and it's only on my right ear. So it's not sinus. No, it's not sinus to tinnitus. It's I'm pretty sure there's a term for it. I'm pretty sure there's got to be. I've looked it up before, but anyways, a type of tinnitus. I think it is very very strange, a little disturbing, but then again, not nearly as disturbing as a lot of other stuff. So anyway, everybody say goodbye. I'll try to update you guys with how this goes. At least I think my hairbrushes are still usable for now, for the time being. They're definitely not in tip-top shape, much like the rest of myself and things around me. But it'll still serve its purpose, I want to think, for now. See? Nice and gentle and slow. Yeah. Okay, so same as the one in my car. The one in my car is a little more banged up and pretty much missing more than half of its pokey things, but hey, it'll still do for now. It'll still serve a purpose unless they do I don't know, follow through with my dare to take the whole hairbrush out of the car just to prove a point that way, whatever point that might be. Like, I was watching and listening, and here I go and do it. I don't know. How else can I word that right now? I'm tired. What a mess. No, it's funny though. It's cute, it's quirky, it's hilarious. Try to have a sense of humor. It's adorable. It's adorable. Disturbing, yes. But I can also call it adorable if I want to. And I do want to right now, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna go have my carrots and other stuff too. So on that note, happy Friday. Wow, that's loud. I think part of why it's so loud is because I have calluses from the pole, from pole tricks and stuff, from climbing the pole and doing pole tricks over and over and over again. They're actually not as bad right now as they normally are, which is weird. Oh, another thing I can say real quick. No, I'm not proud of this at all, but in a way I am, because this actually takes a lot of discipline from me too. I've said plenty of times before, just as much discipline as it takes for me to keep going on the pole and keep up with my pole tricks as best I can that way. When I'm injured or when I feel like I shouldn't be going on the pole, it takes just as much, if not more, discipline for me to stay off the pole and to not go on it and to not do pole tricks for that period of time, for that point in time. So I did, like, my wrist has been bothering me again lately. Actually, both my wrists, but mostly my left one right now. I went through my entire shift on Tuesday, staying off of the pole for my wrist, mostly. Up until the very end of the night, I did do one quick pole trick at the end of the night for Tuesday. But then the following night, so Wednesday night, which was the most recent shift that I did a couple days or a couple nights ago, I don't know if I should say I managed to, but I did end up going through that entire shift without going on the pole one time. That's very, very, very rare for me. Usually it's the opposite, and I'm trying to go on the pole as much as I can all throughout my 10-hour shifts. So for me to get through an entire 10-hour shift without going on it like that it takes a lot from me to do that too, you know, like, but yeah, my wrist has been hurting a lot lately again. It acts up a lot from time to time. It's been to where, like recently, it's even hurt. It's weird because like I just went to the grocery store earlier and I got a bunch of heavy groceries, like a big 5-pound bag of carrots, plus additional carrots as well. So I got that. I got some cans of vegetables. So I got some heavy stuff, and my wrist didn't really bother me all throughout that time with doing that. You know, and I'm also carrying a bunch of big other heavy bags as well with that kind of thing. So it wasn't hurting for any of that somehow, some way. Whereas just earlier this morning and like yesterday and last night and just, you know, the past few days and nights, my wrist has been hurting off and on to where I was even noticing it hurting when I was doing something as simple as like lifting the covers or like moving the covers in my bed. Um or like just other little everyday tasks like that. But in kind of just like random spurts or random bursts, like here and there, like again, not with everything, which I guess is good, right? Like, and then lifting all of those heavy groceries, I didn't even notice it then though, which is that's so weird. Why would it hurt like moving the covers like on a bed, like just regular bed covers, and yet not hurt lifting and carrying around like big heavy cans of vegetable. I got like 6 cans of vegetables and a big 5-pound bag of carrots and like other stuff too. So how is it not going to bother me for that? You know what I mean? Like that makes no sense, right? But then again, like a lot of stuff, not a whole lot seems to make sense to me. So does this make sense? Does this make sense? No, it does not. Certainly not to me anyway. The one in my car, that makes even less sense because that one's even more damaged. And that one was my favorite. I'm never going to get over this. I'm really not. I know that I'm not. Ever, ever, ever. If I do live to be an old age and I don't have dementia at that point, if I live to be an old lady, I swear, I will still be like upset about this. I'll still be thinking about it. I'll still be thinking about it, talking about it, harping on it over and over. Like, never let it go. That's how I am. Like, I just know. Again, I probably won't live to be a super old lady like that, just based on how things are. And me daring this person to like meet me here in this apartment and like duke it out like that, you know what I mean? So but maybe I'll have this, or maybe they will. I'm leaving it right here. So maybe they'll have it, or worse, or more, or worse, or God only knows. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe there is no God. Maybe the list just goes on and on and on. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. I want my freaking carrots and other things. So I'm gonna try to sign off in a few seconds, in a few moments. I'm gonna sign off, but I'm gonna kind of just do it like what's gonna feel quick to me because I'm gonna have to just like press that off button real quick as soon as I yank off the hair tie, and I have to do it before I see any other numbers up there so that I can't allow myself to continue to just have more reactions to things and just keep talking and talking and talking. All right, so I hope you guys are well. Happy Friday. I'm going to sign off now, but I really hope that I'll be able to come back on soon and do some nice, short, sweet, happy videos with you guys. Maybe a frozen yogurt video would be great. I really, really want frozen yogurt sometime soon. Okay, happy Friday. Till next time. Okay, bye for now.